Before the platinum records, before the sold-out arenas, and before hip-hop became one of the most influential cultures in the world, there was the Bronx. New York City in the early 1970s was a place where young people took what they had, turntables, records, microphones, cardboard, spray paint, and imagination, and with those simple tools, they created something the world had never seen before. Hip-hop wasn't created inside a recording studio. The culture grew from neighborhoods, parks, recreation rooms, and block parties, and from a generation determined to create something of its own. This is the story of the birth of hip-hop, and if we really want to understand hip-hop, we have to go back to where it all began. During the 1970s, parts of the Bronx were experiencing enormous economic and social changes. Buildings were being abandoned, neighborhoods were struggling, and opportunities for many young people were limited. But even during those difficult times, creativity was everywhere. Young people created their own entertainment, and music became one of the ways communities came together. DJs set up powerful sound systems at neighborhood parties, people danced, MCs grabbed microphones, and artists covered walls and subway cars with their names and artwork. Something new was beginning to form, and although the culture did not have a worldwide audience yet, the energy was undeniable. One of the most important figures in this story was a Jamaican-born teenager named Clive Campbell. The world would come to know him as DJ Kool Herc. Growing up in Jamaica, Herc had been exposed to the island's sound system culture, where DJs played music through enormous speakers while crowds gathered to dance and enjoy the music. After moving to New York, Herc brought some of that influence with him. Then came a night that would become legendary in hip-hop history, August 11th, 1973. At 1520 Sedgwick Avenue in the Bronx, Herc and his sister Cindy hosted a back-to-school party held inside the recreation room of their apartment building. While playing records, Herc noticed something important. The dancers became especially excited during the instrumental section of a song, a section known as the break. Instead of allowing that short break to end, Herc found a way to extend it. He used 2 turntables and 2 copies of the same record. As one break ended, he moved to the break on the second record, then repeated the process, keeping the rhythm going. The dancers loved it. Those extended breaks gave them more time to step into the dance circle and show what they could do. The dancers became known as B-boys and B-girls, and breaking became an important part of the growing culture. The turntable was no longer simply a machine used to play records, and in the hands of these young DJs, the turntable became an instrument. DJs searched through collections of funk, soul, and other styles of music, looking for the perfect drum break. They experimented, they competed, and they developed new techniques. Soon, other DJs began pushing the art even further. One of the most important was Grandmaster Flash, who developed precise methods for locating and repeating breaks. His techniques helped transform DJing into a highly skilled art form. Then another important innovation appeared, scratching. Grand Wizzard Theodore is widely credited with developing the scratching technique after discovering the unusual sound created when a record was moved backward and forward underneath the needle. A sound that could have been dismissed as a mistake became music. DJs would never use turntables quite the same way again, but the DJ was not alone. Someone had to keep the crowd excited, and that's where the MC came in. Early MCs were not necessarily performing complete songs. They might introduce the DJ, shout out people in the crowd, encourage everyone to dance, or deliver short rhythmic phrases over the beat. Over time, those phrases became longer, the rhymes became more elaborate, and different MCs developed their own styles, voices, and personalities. Crews began to form, competition grew, and gradually, the person holding the microphone moved from being the DJ's assistant to becoming one of the main attractions. The foundations of modern rapping were beginning to take shape. But hip-hop was not only about records, turntables, and microphones. A much larger culture was developing: DJing, MCing, breaking it, and graffiti art. These forms of expression became deeply connected with early hip-hop culture. A DJ could command a park with 2 turntables, an MC could command a crowd with words, a B-boy or B-girl could command a dance circle with movement, and a graffiti writer could transform a subway car or neighborhood wall into a moving canvas. Many of these young people did not have access to expensive instruments, professional studios, or formal art spaces, and so they created their own. The city itself became the stage. Another major figure emerging from the Bronx was Afrika Bambaataa, who became known not only as a DJ, but also as an organizer. He helped bring different parts of the growing culture together. Through neighborhood parties, DJ battles, and the universal Zulu nation, hip-hop became increasingly connected to ideas of community, creativity, and competition through art. Different neighborhoods had their own crews, different DJs had their own sound systems, and different MCs had their own styles, and people wanted to know who could rock the crowd the hardest. Hip-hop was growing, but there was still one major difference between hip-hop then and hip-hop today. Back then, you usually had to be there. Imagine hearing about an incredible DJ playing in a park somewhere in the Bronx. Unless you attended that party or got your hands on a recording of it, you could not simply listen to the music later. Hip-hop was primarily a live experience. People circulated cassette recordings of performances and neighborhood parties, and reputations traveled from one neighborhood to another. But most record companies were not paying much attention because the music industry did not yet view this new culture as an obvious commercial product. That was about to change, and by the end of the decade, rap began appearing commercially on records. In 1979, the Sugarhill Gang released Rapper's Delight. The record became a major hit, introducing rap to countless listeners who had never attended a Bronx block party. There's an important distinction that should never be forgotten. Rapper's Delight did not create hip-hop. The culture had already been developing for years. DJs, MCs, dancers, and graffiti artists had been building the culture throughout the 1970s. But the success of commercial rap records demonstrated something important. This music could travel far beyond New York. People around the country and eventually around the world could now hear something that had once lived primarily at parties and parks and at neighborhood gatherings. Hip-hop was leaving the block. By the time the 1970s ended, the foundation had been built. The DJ had transformed the turntable, the MC had begun transforming rhymes into an art form, B-boys and B-girls had created a new language through movement, and graffiti writers had transformed the city into their canvas. A culture born from creativity inside New York neighborhoods was beginning to reach the rest of America. But hip-hop was still young. When the calendar turned to 1980, everything was about to get bigger. The records would become more sophisticated, the rhymes would become more complex, and the fashion would become unmistakable, and a new generation of New York artists would help transform hip-hop from an underground movement into a musical revolution. The 1980s were coming, and hip-hop would never be the same. I'm DJ Summer Boogie, celebrating the music, the culture, and the history behind the sounds we still love today.